Welcome to the monthly market report for Keeping Current Matters for October 2020. We're going to talk about a lot today. Update on the housing market, where we're at. Answer the question, can we keep this momentum up? Look at the biggest obstacle we face and even into, what we can expect and some questions into 2021. So let's go ahead and get started here. I started with a quote from Mark Fleming as we think about where are we at in the world of real estate today in October. He says, housing has experienced a strong V-shaped recovery and is now exceeding pre-pandemic levels. What Mark is saying there is we can confidently say that in the housing market, we are have experienced a V-shaped recovery. If you remember back just a few months ago, there's a lot of, questions about that. Are we going to see a V? Certainly still questions about that in the overall economy. If you remember, we've talked about the economist, the survey by the Wall Street Journal have said, the overall economy, the majority believe there's going to be some sort of V, but certainly in housing, we can say we've experienced a V-shaped recovery. If we visually look at what that is, we can go to the housing market index. That's something created by NAR. We've been following it for the last several months, that. And we see this dip down in April and this, kind of recovery V shape there up to where we are today, exceeding pre-pandemic levels, looking at demand, supply, price, and time on market. So as we look at the real estate business, we can confidently say we have experienced a V-shaped recovery. Now, there are questions about the overall economy, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But I think when we look at our business, we can say, we started out this year strong, and as people were able to come out from quarantine, that momentum continued on throughout there. If we look at, kind of some of the key metrics relative to that recovery, our team put together this year-over-year change in key metrics, really saying, okay, what is the market that we've settled into? If you remember last time, we talked about getting through some of the pin-up demand and settling into this market. And we've settled into quite a nice market. If you look on the left here, showings are up across the country as tracked by showing time, 60.7% on average across the country as compared to January 1st. Purchase applications up 25% year over year. Pending deals up 21.8%, almost 22%. Existing home sales and new home sales up as well. So all of these indicators saying, hey, we're ahead of where we were this time last year. And even the information that we've reviewed really suggests we're through pent-up demand and we're settling into a market that is moving along quite well. And the challenge you see on the right side of the screen is inventory. Existing home sale inventory and new home inventory is down 33% for new homes and 39% for existing homes. That is the challenge in the market. But as we look across some of these leading indicators, we can say, you know what, there are many people that their idea of home, their thought of home, and their desire for home has changed during the pandemic. And it brings up this question, I think, in our business, can we keep this momentum up? And that is the question that our team has been looking at over the last several weeks to say, okay, if we have this momentum right now, can we keep it up? And to get a picture into that question, we've got to start to look at the overall economy. We know our business has fared very well during the downturn, and we're thankful for that. But what do we look like overall in the economy as the U.S.? And so I want to take a little look at that for just a minute here and start with consumer spending across the U.S. And so this measured by Opportunity Insights goes all the way back to the 1st of January and goes through September and shows, we dipped down in April, down 31, almost 32% in consumer spending, and it kind of slowly come back up in this even in a wider V shape there to where on average across the country, consumer spending is within 4.1% of where it was back in January. That's an encouraging sign. We want to see that continue to return as consumers, are able to go out and purchase goods and have certainly the income and the jobs to do that. The change in consumer spending across the country, you see many states in the blue color here are past or above where they were January 1st. They're positive relative to consumer spending. Some of the brown areas you see anywhere, within a few percent of being back to where they were on January 1st, and some red states still lagging behind. Certainly, areas that were heavily impacted by coronavirus and dealing with that has impacted those economies. Certainly, the economies that are based on tourism, travel, and some of the service-based industries that have been hit hard are still recovering from that. Most recently, we know we have the unemployment rate at 7.9%. And, as we look at this over the last 5 months, the unemployment rate has come down. I'm not suggesting that 7.9% is a good spot to be for unemployment, but we've seen that come down, and we want to see it come down more, and continue to draw people to get back their jobs to where they're able to provide for their families, for themselves. We started out this before the coronavirus hit in February at 3.5% unemployment. We're at 7.9%, 4.4% above that. And experts are projecting that's going to continue to fall going into the coming years. Nobody's projecting unemployment's about to go back up. So to put that in perspective, we want to continue to see unemployment fall. Just a couple of months ago, we were talking about the comparison of unemployment to the Great Depression, the Great Recession, maybe some of the downturns in the 80s. You can see here that comparison of the number of months where unemployment has been greater than or equal to 9%. And here in 2020, we've only been in 4 months of unemployment greater than 9%. And during the Great Depression, it was 108 months. Great Recession, 30 months. In the 80s, 19 months. So, it puts the unemployment perspective on where we are today versus in the past. It's nowhere near like the Great Depression or Great Recession. And economically speaking, we want to see that continue to return. Now, in our business, the gift that has been given to those relative to housing in forbearance is starting to come down. The number of people that are in active forbearance is decreasing. We peaked out, almost 5 million people in forbearance earlier in May, and now we're at 3.59, and want to continue to see that fall as people are able to come out of forbearance and they're able to make their mortgage payment. Now, we've talked about a lot, how the CFPB has provided for extensions for people that need those for up to 360 days. I think there is information too to suggest that not everybody knows about the options of forbearance. And it's certainly our job to be out in the market talking about that. Not that we can solve every issue by any means, but we can direct people to what the options are by the CFPB, been provided, and coach them on reaching out to their service or reaching out to their bank to say, okay, what are the options if I still need this, if I'm in trouble? But we want to continue to see people come off of that as they get their job back, as they're able to do what they need to do to make their mortgage payment and provide for their family. But it does bring up a question. We're in this election season right now, and I think many people saying, okay, we've got high unemployment, 7.9%, like we talked about. We've got people on, forbearance. I may just wait and see. I may not do anything because I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2021. We're going to see a housing crash. Now, we talked a lot, about why this isn't 2008 all over again. There's certainly a little bit of that in this question, I think, that consumers still deal with, and we need to get that word out there. If you're dealing with somebody in that, or if we're helping an agent partner or whoever we're talking with about this, or if we ourselves are dealing with this with someone, we want to go back and we want to look at a couple of things. I would suggest, to answer that question, we want to talk about inventory, equity, and what the experts are saying. Okay, so somebody says, I'm worried about what's going to happen in 2021. I'm going to wait because I think we may see a housing crash. Okay, well, that's certainly a perspective I would argue is brought on by the housing crash of 2008. So we want to start off with inventory there, and you'll remember this image here of the difference between 2008 and the difference between today. And this is updated with the most current information. And you can see today we're in a seller's market, where then we were in a buyer's market literally back in 2008, an oversupply of homes on the market for the number of people that want to buy them. Back in 2008, we had, depending on when you look in that time frame, anywhere from 10, 11, 12 months of inventory on the market. And where do we sit today? We sit at a historically low inventory across the country. This graphic goes all the way back to 1999, and we're below that in the available inventory for the number of people that want to buy those homes. So a very different market than what we saw when we saw oversupply back in 2008. That led to price depreciation, where today we're in very much an appreciating market because of the lack of supply in homes across the country. So the first way I would answer that question, or if you're shooting a video or doing something to get this message out there, is explain the difference to this market as compared to 2008. And you may know the answer to that, but that doesn't mean that everybody that's following us or watching us knows the answer to that question. The second way I would answer that question is equity. Equity gives people options today, and we've talked about that. John Burns Consulting tells us that 42.1% of the homes in this country are owned free and clear today, and that 90% of the homes have at least 10% equity. So significant equity in homes across the country. We talk a lot about that as well, and cash out refinances and how people have literally handled their equity different since 2008. There are a lot of lessons learned back then that people have said, you know what, I don't want to repeat that issue and that problem. So we've done things differently, and that equity provided today gives people an option to hopefully weather the financial storm relative to housing. If they did need to to sell because they couldn't make their housing payment, they could sell today, pay a commission, and put some money in their pocket to provide for their family, where back in 2008 that wasn't the case. People were underwater, where they owed more on their home than it was worth, and they just walked away. So the equity position of homeowners today is very, very strong and gives them options relative to going into some sort of distress sale. Now, are homes going to go into foreclosure? Yes, they are. That happens in our business. And will happen, but likely is a trickle versus a flood of foreclosures. So equity is a big contributing factor to the strength of homeownership right now and going into next year. And the third is, what are experts saying? Experts are not calling for price depreciation in the coming months. You can see here the majority of experts saying, hey, we're going to see somewhere between 3 and 4%, and I expect some of these to be revised up. CoreLogic said we're going to see 6% depreciation. They've revised up to 0.6% appreciation. Haas on the right there, still the outlier that we don't agree with, saying depreciation, but I think it's safe to say the majority of experts are saying we're looking at appreciation coming in the next 12 months. And you have to look at your market and say, okay, what do I see relative to inventory? What do I see relative to demand? Demand being driven by great interest rates right now, still the average 30-year fixed below 3%. So very encouraging for what we see happening across the country, and able to answer this question to say, the market's very different. There's strong equity, and experts are forecasting appreciation going into the year. Bill McBride from Calculated Risk says this is very different from the increase in delinquencies following the housing bubble, just like we said. Lending standards have been fairly solid over the last decade, and most of these homeowners have equity in their homes, and they'll be able to restructure their loans if they are employed. So we see that equity gives people options. We know banks have given the opportunity of people to go into forbearance and weather the storm financially relative to housing, and I think we can look into 2021 and say, okay, we don't see that as a crash relative to all of those factors. So very important to note right now. The one obstacle, though, let's talk about that. The obstacle that could be the impediment to our growth in housing, really the recovery, is the lack of available inventory. We're at a severe shortage across the country in the number of available homes for the number of people wanting them, because home has grown, the value of home has grown over the pandemic. Interesting quote here from Realtor.com. Since the beginning of COVID pandemic in March, nearly 400,000 fewer homes have been listed compared to last year, leaving a gaping hole in the U.S. housing inventory. As a result, home prices are accelerating at double last year's pace. So we don't have the inventory. We're in an accelerating market because so many people want a home, can't get them, and it's driving the price up across the country. We're in this accelerating market. If we look as well at NAR's seller traffic index, we see across the country still a lot of gray, a lot of folks reluctant to put their home on the market for a number of different reasons. Maybe they don't have a place to go, or worry about we don't have a place to go. Second, may not feel safe in putting their home on the market right now. So I think our job is to go out and get listings, and I'm going to talk just in a minute about where there's some available areas for those. But we want to see more sellers make the decision, and that's our job right now, is to get out in front of what they're doing. If we look at this year-over-year change in listings, you've seen this, no doubt. We talk about this a lot and have kept this updated. As we bring listings to market, the available inventory has continued to drop. Literally, people buying homes as fast, if not faster, than we're able to list them. So listing inventory dropping, although new home inventory is coming to market, we still need more of it. Now, it's a very interesting picture of this challenge here in existing home sales and new home sales from NAR and from the census. If we look at existing home sales being up 10.5% and listings down 39%. So we have more sales than we have literally inventory coming into the market, creating this challenge. Same thing in new home, but a much more drastic jump in the sale of new homes. 43% growth in new home sales, and yet listings are down cumulatively 33%. So again, this delta forming between the number of people that are buying and the number of available homes for them to buy, causing this challenge. It's a great way to articulate this and get this out to people that are wondering what's going on in the market. This is what's happening. More people are buying, less people are listing, or less available homes there for those that want to purchase. Now, we talked about where are these listings at. We've talked about people wanting to move from urban areas to suburban areas, and I want to take a look at a couple of those things quickly as we talk about where are listings right now, where's opportunity. Certainly suburban areas are outperforming urban areas in the recovery. You can see it here, but not tremendously, difference in numbers. Price acceleration faster in the suburban area versus urban areas. Properties are selling faster in suburban areas versus urban areas. Number of online shoppers, and you can see the deficiency in the number of homes for sale is more in the suburban area due to demand. But this helps give perspective on the performance of both of those areas. I think there's still people that say, look, we want to be in a less dense environment right now. We have different needs that we are desiring for our living space, whether it be our family, individually. I need more space, more backyard, all those types of things, work from home, and maybe moving to a less dense area. The other area is just the builder area. And John Burns Consulting, I pulled this quote. It says, builders we spoke with in the active adult space told us some standing inventory numbers are low, and some are tripling the number of standing inventory homes they produce to satisfy demand. Some are also simplifying what they offer in their homes, a process that streamlines housing production and keeps new home prices more attainable. So we see a lot of people saying, hey, look, we can work from home now. We may be downsizing, moving to another home in an active adult community. And they're saying, look, we've got to build more homes and simplify that process. So if you know somebody in that category, that may be an area for available inventory. The other piece that is very apparent in the market is equity. Mark Fleming from First American says this: as homeowners gain equity in their homes, they're likely to consider using that equity to purchase a larger or more attractive home. The wealth effect of rising equity in today's housing market fast rising demand against the limited supply of homes for sale has resulted in continued price appreciation. So as we know, prices are appreciating. What's the good news there? It's providing more equity for people, which gives them more options. And as we look across the country, the average home in Q2 gained almost $10,000 in equity, $9,800 in equity. You can see, depending on the state where you're at, what that looks like. So options for people that are thinking we need something different in home, and these options are provided by enhanced equity. There's probably opportunity as well for some non-owner occupied opportunities and listings, maybe people that have a few rental properties, and checking in with them to say, okay, how is that working with receiving rents during the pandemic and the downturn? They may need to take advantage of the equity they have and be able to sell that investment, pull some money off the table, and free up some inventory as well. So this equity that people have is giving them options relative to what they can do. So I think there's a lot of things happening in the market right now. Inventory being the biggest challenge we face as an industry, and certainly as we go into the winter months here, and throughout the remainder of the year, we're going to stay on top of that as we look at, okay, is inventory growing? Are there more options? And as we wrap up today, I would say this, that using all of this information, being out in the market right now is critical. We're in election season. It's tough for people to say, okay, what is happening? I have some fears about what 2021 may bring. I have some fears about the election. I have some fears about what's going on. And I'll leave you with this. It's a quote from the Wall Street Journal. It says, truth is attainable by laying fact upon fact, and then fact upon fact. So going back to what we talked about, being able to talk about the difference in today's market, being able to talk about the strong equity, being able to talk about rising equity, and what experts are saying about this market is the key to helping homeowners make powerful and confident decisions. So as always, the monthly market report, we try to keep it in about 20 minutes, give you an update of everything happening across the country relative to real estate in this market, and grateful for the time that you invest to spend with us, and hope you have a great rest of this day. Take care.